In a world where fame often feels like a carefully choreographed performance, Shen Yue's story unfolds as something entirely different. Her journey through the world of acting was never about following a script written by others, but about rewriting her own in the most unexpected ways. What you are about to discover is not the glossy version the cameras capture, but the real story of a woman who walked away from predictability and chose courage over comfort. It all began in a quiet corner of her college campus, where Shen Yue often sat alone with a small notebook in hand. While others dreamed of fame, she wrote about freedom. Her classmates remember her as the girl who laughed softly to herself while sketching her thoughts, unaware that those very thoughts would one day lead her to the spotlight. Her professors saw brilliance in her, but even they couldn't imagine the unconventional road she would one day take. When she first stepped into the industry, the expectations were heavy. Everyone around her expected her to be another pretty face in a long line of rising stars. But Shen Yue refused to be molded. During her first few shoots, she made choices that shocked even the directors. She improvised lines, ignored suggested gestures, and brought her own raw energy to every scene. Some thought it was rebellion. Others saw it as brilliance. Yet, deep down, Shen Yue was simply searching for truth in a world of make-believe. Her early success with breakout dramas brought her massive attention, but instead of basking in the glow of fame, she disappeared for months. No one could understand why. Rumors spread wildly, claiming she was burned out, or that she had creative disagreements. But the truth was quieter and far more profound. She had gone off to travel alone, wandering through old villages, talking to locals, and writing down pieces of their lives. She once said in an interview, "If I don't live, how can I act?" That single line captured her entire philosophy. When she returned, something about her had changed. She approached her roles differently, no longer chasing perfection but embracing imperfection. In one production, she shocked the entire crew by refusing a body double for an emotionally draining scene. She wanted to feel the pain, to experience the exhaustion. The director later admitted that her intensity transformed the entire mood on set. The crew fell silent after every take, as though they had witnessed something too real to be fiction. Off-camera, Shen Yue became known for her quiet acts of defiance. While others competed for attention, she often stayed behind after filming to help clean up props or talk to the lighting crew. Her humility left an impression wherever she went. She was often seen sitting by herself reading poetry, sometimes humming songs no one else recognized. But behind that calm demeanor, there was a fire that refused to dim. Then came the decision that changed everything. Shen Yue turned down a major international role that could have catapulted her to global stardom. The world called her crazy. But she smiled and said, "Fame is temporary. Peace is not." Instead, she chose a small independent project directed by a first-time filmmaker. That film, though modest in budget, became a masterpiece that critics still discuss. It wasn't about glamour, it was about truth, emotion, and courage. Behind the scenes, her unconventional journey inspired many young actors. They saw in her a reflection of authenticity, something rare in a world obsessed with perfection. Even co-stars have admitted that working with her feels like therapy. She listens deeply, feels deeply, and never hides behind a mask. On set, she often helps new actors calm their nerves, reminding them to breathe and find the truth within their characters. As her career evolved, so did her outlook on fame. She began using her platform not to boast, but to share lessons about vulnerability and self-acceptance. She opened up in interviews about moments when she almost quit, when she questioned her worth, when she doubted whether she truly belonged. Those raw confessions connected her to fans more deeply than any scripted performance could. One unforgettable moment came during an award show. While everyone expected her to deliver a glamorous acceptance speech, Shen Yue stood before the crowd, holding her trophy, and simply said, "I didn't come here to win. I came here to learn." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the cameras seemed unsure whether to keep rolling. That single sentence became a defining quote for her generation of fans who saw her not just as an actress, but as a voice of authenticity in a noisy world. In private, Shen Yue still carries her old notebook, the same one from her college days. Its pages are worn, filled with stories, dreams, and reflections from every chapter of her life. Some say she still writes down lines she hears from strangers on the street, using them as seeds for her performances. She believes every person she meets carries a story worth remembering. Her unconventional path wasn't easy. She faced criticism, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt. But through it all, she stayed true to her essence, a woman who chose art over fame, heart over applause, and truth over trends. And in doing so, Shen Yue not only redefined what it means to be a star, but also reminded the world that success isn't about how loud you shine, but how deeply you touch others. Her journey continues, quietly, beautifully, and bravely. And as the curtain falls on this chapter, one thing becomes certain: Shen Yue isn't just an actress. She's a story still being written, one that challenges the world to dream differently, live authentically, and embrace every imperfect moment along the way. Because beyond the scenes, beyond the fame, beyond the expectations, Shen Yue has proven that the most unconventional paths often lead to the most extraordinary destinations. The studio lights had dimmed that evening, yet the energy in the air remained heavy. Shen Yue sat quietly in her chair, the same spot she had occupied for years, only this time it felt different. The noise of the set had faded, leaving behind a silence that echoed louder than applause. She had just finished another emotional scene, one that mirrored her real life more than anyone around her could have guessed. The camera stopped rolling, but Shen Yue's mind didn't. She leaned forward, hands trembling slightly, her reflection on the monitor staring back like a reminder of everything she had hidden for so long. That was when she whispered softly to the director beside her, "I don't think people really know me at all." Her director, who had seen her rise from a nervous newcomer to a national sensation, simply nodded. "Maybe it's time they do," he said quietly. That moment became the spark of truth that would later unfold into a revelation the entire entertainment world would talk about. Behind the fame, the smiles, and the charm, there was a girl who had almost quit acting 3 times. Once after her very first drama when she was told she was too soft for the screen. Another time when she was replaced in a role she had worked months to prepare for. And once more, when she lost someone close to her during filming and could barely hold herself together through the long nights of shooting. But what people didn't know was that Shen Yue's strength didn't come from fame. It came from the silence she had mastered. Every time she was hurt, she turned it into performance. Every heartbreak became a monologue. Every loss became a scene that made millions cry without knowing why. During one interview years ago, she had been asked, "Do you ever act out of pain?" She smiled then, gently, and replied, "I only act when I feel something deeply enough to share it." No one thought much of it at the time, but now, her fans finally understood what she meant. In part 2 of her revelation, Shen Yue opened up about something that sent a wave of emotion across her audience. She spoke about a mentor she once had, a director who believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. He told her, "Your career isn't meant to be like others. You're meant to move hearts, not chase fame." Those words became her silent promise. Years later, when she was offered a major international project, Shen Yue shocked everyone by turning it down. The world assumed it was because of scheduling issues, but the truth was deeper. She wanted to work on a smaller story, one that reminded her of why she started acting in the first place. It wasn't about global attention. It was about honesty, about truth. One evening, while speaking on a quiet stage surrounded by fans and journalists, Shen Yue revealed that the project she chose instead was inspired by her own life. The story of a young woman who struggles to find her voice in a noisy world. A story of resilience, heartbreak, and rediscovery. And as she talked, her eyes glistened with a rawness no script could ever capture. "I've been running for years," she said softly. "Running to become what people expect me to be. But every time I slowed down, I realized that my imperfections were my real story. I am not perfect. I never was. But I'm finally learning to be at peace with that." Her confession left the audience breathless. Some said they saw tears in her eyes, others claimed they felt something shift in their hearts that night. But what truly mattered was that Shen Yue had found her own truth, and in doing so, she gave everyone permission to find theirs too. From that day forward, her career took a new shape. She began choosing roles that reflected her own journey. Each character she played seemed to echo a piece of her soul. Her performances became more personal, more fragile, and yet more powerful than ever. It wasn't acting anymore, it was honesty. Behind every smile she gave on screen, there was a story. Behind every line she spoke, there was a whisper of her past. The world began to see her differently. Not just as an actress, but as a storyteller, someone who lived her art, not just performed it. And when she looked back at her path, the unconventional twists, the lost roles, the criticism, the quiet strength, she smiled. Because now she knew that every setback had led her to this truth. Her journey wasn't about fame, but about freedom. As the final moments of her documentary aired, Shen Yue stood on the balcony overlooking the city that once doubted her. The night lights reflected in her eyes, and she whispered to herself, "I didn't follow the path others took. I built my own." And for the first time in years, Shen Yue didn't feel like an actress pretending to be strong. She was strong. She was free. She was finally home. The screen faded to black with her final words, simple yet powerful. "Beyond the scenes is where I truly found myself."